Live.
Good evening, Namaskar, a warm welcome to all of you. Today, on this Friday evening, we assemble here virtually to understand, analyze, and should I say, prevent violence that occurred, a post-poll violence that occurred as a black mark on democracy, on elections in West Bengal. If I may use the word, a state sponsored, a state commissionary and machinery, omitted actioned machinery. Something that was premeditated, something that shook the very uh, edifice of democracy in India. We are here with us are some of the esteemed dignitaries who have been a part of the fact-finding committee. Now, the moment I said fact-finding committee, the question is who would set this up? Why would this fact-finding committee, why is it not the state's job to do it? So why is there a fact-finding committee? Who set this up? Now, there are several NGOs in this country which are working towards human rights, towards fostering positive human rights. One such organization is Call for Justice, a Delhi-based non-profit organization that has raised its voice every time there is a genuine human right violation. A concern of that sort was shown by another organization called Citizens for Democracy, which raised the same kind of concern, which voiced out the same kind of concern when riots happened in DJ in Bangalore. The same concern was shown when Delhi was burning in the pretext, I should use the word, in the pretext of CAA riots. These organizations which want to prevent violence, which wants to foster human rights and ensure that every person has a basic right of dignity, basic right to live with dignity, basic right of choice, be it political, be it social. These are the organizations which with the help of all these organizations, we assemble here and Call for Justice set up a fact-finding committee in order to understand the post-poll violence that took place in West Bengal. There were 5 members in the in the fact-finding committee that was set up by Call for Justice, which included the senior IAS officers. It included Justice Parmod Kohli, former Chief Justice, Sikkim; Shri Anand Bose, Chief Secretary of Kerala; Srimati Nirmal Kaur, former DGP of Jharkhand; Shri Nisar Ahmed, past President of ICSI; and Shri Madan Gopal, former Additional Chief Secretary of Karnataka. These 5 members battling COVID during the times of COVID personally visited all the places that were inflicted with violence and have taken first-hand reports of the violence and have come up with recommendations and a report. Today we have with us Shri Anand Bose, Srimati Nirmal Kaur, and Shri Madan Gopal, who are a part of the fact-finding committee, to enlighten us about how the fact-finding committee was formed, how the report is as the way it is. I will take a very small, say about 3 more minutes to introduce each one of the speakers, although I must say that I will require at least about half an hour time if I have to introduce each one of them completely. However, with seeking permission from all of them, from all the 3 speakers that we have, I'm going to do a very brief introduction of them so that we can interact more with them. I'll start with Srimati Nirmal Kaur, or should I call her with pride in my heart as Hunter Wali, as people in Bhagalpur would call her. Now, when we speak of Srimati Nirmal Kaur, what comes to the mind is an honest officer with integrity who patrolled on horses in the crime-ridden rural areas of Bhagalpur, who has completely, who is so spiritually oriented that she is very active in the Yogada Satsang Society, and has never missed visiting any of the kumbhas or the Ardha kumbhas that take place. Further, she was born in the village of Panchata in Hagwar near Hoshiarpur, Punjab. She began her work as SP to DG in Bihar and Jharkhand, and um, took place. She has taken care of various other responsibilities and has finally retired as IPS, retired from the IPS as DG. She's she has very good knowledge in Indian Vedantic philosophy about the Sikh gurus and Guru Granth Sahib. She has, her social affiliations are mostly with Rashtriya Sikh Sanghat since its inception. We are actually blessed to have her as a part of the fact finding committee, a woman with absolute substance. We welcome you, ma'am. Next, we have Dr. Anand Bose. Dr. Anand Bose is a retired IAS, but when I actually read about his entire introduction, I have been inspired and overwhelmed by the amount of achievements that he has. Dr. Anand Bose, a one-man expert commission, CACLB, Ministry of Labour, Government of India. Now, when we speak of a one-man expert commission, we know the amount of depth that he would have with respect to his knowledge. He has worked as university vice chancellor and as an additional chief secretary and as district collectors. Having taken care of various other responsibilities, he has also worked as secretary to the chief minister of Kerala and as principal secretary in various departments. A prolific writer and a columnist, Dr. Bose has published more than 40 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi, out of which 4 are yet known as bestsellers. He has represented India in European Council for Nuclear Research, that is CERN, Geneva, where Higgs boson was discovered recently. He has also represented India in the International Fusion Energy Organization, ITER, France. He was a chairman of Atomic Energy Education Society. Dr. Bose has been a recipient of 31 international and national awards for his outstanding contributions in various fields. There is several other things that I would actually want to go on, but I must say that the fact that he's with us today, he has decided to give some of his time for this interaction. We are extremely grateful to you, sir. We welcome you for this interaction with us. Next, we have with us Shri Madhabhoshi Madan Gopal. Madanji is an IAS, has retired as an IAS. He has a master's degree in commerce and postgraduate diploma in journalism. He was selected in the IAS service in 1984 and placed in the Karnataka cadre. He started his career as assistant commissioner and subdivisional magistrate Nanjangud in Mysore. Further, he has also taken up various responsibilities. He has also served as a private secretary to Union Ministers of State, Government of India for tourism, rural areas, employment, coals and mines. As Chief Secretary, Jilla Parishad, Raichur district and District Commissioner for Bijapur, Gulbarga districts, he has earned laurels from all sections of the society. He is known for his honest and integrated approach towards any solution that he gives. He has attended various workshops and seminars at national and international level as resource person on project preparation, project management, socio and environment assessment, institutional building, community mobilization, non-formal education, health, rural development, empowerment, and other related issues. He is also a visiting professor for International Institute of Chronic Hypoxia, La Paz, Bolivia. He is a life member of IIPA, New Delhi, ASCI, Hyderabad, Bangalore International Center, and Sri Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning and Bangalore. What is common in all of these people is their honesty, integrity towards work, and their spiritual quest. It is an honor to have Madanji, you along with us for this introduction. Without taking much time, may I request Dr. Anand Bose to begin a very short introduction as to what his experiences were in when he visited West Bengal and what was the ground reality in West Bengal.
Thank you.
Sir, before sir starts, I just have one request to all the participants who have come here. I welcome all of you, and I'm sure all of us have a lot of questions. So kindly post your questions on the chat window. The program is going to be where they are going to give certain. There is going to be a question answer session where they are going to give us some time. So all your questions can be put up on the chat window, and I will take up questions. I will seek answers from each one of them. Thank you. Sir, could you please take over?
Thank you, Shema. I'm very glad to share this platform with my distinguished younger colleagues, Madanji and Nirmalji. I leave it to them to give a gist of what really happened there and what the report contains. I would say at the beginning, what we saw in Bengal as in the aftermath of the post-war violence was shocking, depressing, devastating, unprecedented. As Shakespeare would put it, hell is empty, all the devils are here. That was the situation which prevailed there. Reason has spread to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Again, to quote Mark Antony, as if he had anticipated what happened in West Bengal. What we saw there, and when in our assessment, it is not just a question of crime and punishment. There is more to it than meets the eye. I would say that those days witnessed the darkest moments of democratic history, where democracy had degenerated into mobocracy. There was arson, there was looting, there was lynching, there was rape, all kinds of horrible atrocities, you name it, and it was there. It was pell-mell on the streets, in the houses. Women were molested in public in front of their near relatives, husbands and brothers and sisters and parents. Such a heinous crime was never recorded anywhere in Indian history except to us the likes of what happened in Pol Pot's country. I think democracy has degenerated. In Hindi, getting something to intimidation and muscle tactics, strong arm tactics is called Dadagiri. In Bengal, where the chief minister is called Didi, it was Didigiri, which is so. The details of that will be presented here by Nirmalji, who could put very incisive and insightful questions to the victims there, especially the ladies, and come out with heart-rending tales. There is certain aspects that are here which requires the attention of the public. Number one, Indian federalism is questioned. The great traditions of Indian federalism, which kept this country going, with the center and the states working together in harmony for the benefit of the nation and the people, that was given the go-by, gone with the wind. Federalism was devastated, defaced and defiled on the streets of Bengal. We found also that there is no security for the life and property. It is a bounden duty of the government to give security, life and property of the people. This, as Shema has said, this was state-sponsored, state-supported terrorism and rowdyism, which we witnessed there. In fact, as recommendation, what people need is action, not an alibi for inaction. That is what we are seeing there. The chief minister of the state, I don't want to name anybody here, but we found the breakdown of democracy we saw there on the streets. People are looking up, again, like Shakespeare's characters, they throw up their hands in despair and say, the fault, dear Horatio, It is not in ourselves, but in our stars that we are underlings. That is what the situation which I may sum it up there. Now, what are the things to be done there? Yes, there are many things which are recommended. Madan has given an excellent report. I have seen so many reports. I have worked in so many teams. But Madan, I think, is a cutout for this. A very detailed, incisive, and a report which can stand scrutiny anywhere is there. So I leave it to him to list out the recommendations which are made there. And atrocities which are heaped upon women, I think Nirmalji will certainly give an explanation or an exposition of that. Now, India has a federal, pluralistic structure. All political parties, various religions, various languages, various cultures should be allowed to coexist. Here, if you say only my party, right and wrong, that is something which we cannot accept. If I may take the instance of the porcupines, the porcupines has a special feature. When it is extreme winter, the porcupines cuddle together. But at night, when they turn, bristles will be there and the porcupines will get bruises. The other animals, they live separately during winter. Once the young porcupines decided, why should they stay together and get hurt by the bruises from the thorns of our brothers? Let us be independent. So they still remained independent. All of them started dying one by one because of the extreme winter. Then the elders among the porcupines said, better be together. The bruises of unity is better than the death of disunity. In a pluralistic society, the bruises of unity are better than the death of disunity. What we saw in Bengal is that the essential pluralistic nature of India, the structure of India has been derailed and derailed, defaced and defiled. We have to bring back the noble tenets of federalism, pluralism in this country. And being an IAS officer, all of us are belonging to the All India services. The All India service is supposed to be impartial, to be neutral, to be objective. They are never allowed to be committed to any particular government in power. What we saw was a decline and fall of the All India services there. When people approached them, requesting for support and protection, they ran away. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them ran away their bounden duty. That is the decline and fall of democracy. In Dante's Inferno, it is written, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. On the gates of Mamada's Bengal, it is written, abandon all hopes, ye who enter here. This has to change. Democracy has to be supported. Democracy has to be put on rails. Federalism has to come back. If need be, there should be an overarching legislation which will empower the government of India not to remain as spectators, but to act decisively when such a crisis is there. Therefore, this report is not confined only the specific things that happened in Bengal. This report is an eye-opener for India to the future. We have to struggle hard. We have to put democracy back on the rails. And as Gandhiji said, we do not want a fallen or a prostrate India. We want an India which is ready to die so that humanity may live. I may make a small amendment. We want not a fallen or a prostrate India. We want an India which is ready to live so that humanity may not die. We cannot accept a state within a state. We cannot accept an imperium within an imperium. This is a challenge. This is an opportunity. I am sure that this will redefine, reorganize Indian democracy and put back on the rails the customs and traditions which will bind this nation together. I think that perhaps is a take home from this report. That perhaps is the message from this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. We understand that when you say that hell is free and the devils are here, we totally understand what your feeling had been, because they are really strong words. Now, may I call upon the author of the report, Shri Madan Gopalji, to enlighten us about what transpired and to give us his opening remarks about the entire report.
I am not the author. I am the member secretary, but based on the inputs I received from Dr. Anand Bose, Nirmala ji, and the many victims whom interacted, they gave that inputs. Based on that, we built up the report, and then it reflects the truth. It reflects what happened. Just I want to give that just a background, because we do not want to sound, because anybody reads the report, no one can accuse of any bias towards any particular political formulation bias, because this is a call for justice is a very independent civil society group with eminent judicial members, eminent persons drawn from different sections of society. When this team was constituted, I addressed a letter to, I'm just giving a background, how the insecure the state in West Bengal is. When I addressed a letter to the Chief Secretary of West Bengal, Sri Alapanji, saying that this is the team we would like to visit on a particular time, we wanted them to facilitate security for us. Very promptly, very next day, I get a reply from Sri Alapan, the Chief Secretary, the then Chief Secretary of West Bengal, requesting us to cancel the visit. Reasons which they gave is something very, very ridiculous anyhow. Promptly among members we discussed what to do. I wrote one more letter clarifying that this is the civil society group. We are all responsible citizens. We had years of decades of experience. We will do justice by coming there. It will strengthen your hands. We are projecting what happened there. Your views also taken into consideration. For that, there was no reply. And after coming back, after returning to our places, and before writing the report, before filing report, we offered to share the draft report to the state government with the Chief Secretary. And the Mr. Chief Secretary Alapan said that please contact my Home Secretary, Mr. Dwivedi. I contacted Mr. Dwivedi. I sent him 2 mails, on the WhatsApp messages, no response. I am giving that how the state structure try to conceal the truth. They are so afraid, so insecure, because very inadvertently, the Chief Secretary of West Bengal writes a letter while asking us to cancel the visit. He says that the violence, whatever happened post-poll, is under control now. That means he accepted that there is a violence. So this is just a background of that. And giving an example, when we went there, one incident I have to say, see how the situation is alarming there. One Good Samaritan. We went to a place called Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Medical College in a place called Kalyani. It was a late evening. We wanted to visit the hospital and see there are some victims who are admitted in that hospital with multiple injuries. Some are they have saved their lives. When we went there, the person was standing somewhere. We asked him, can you please show us the way? He came with us. He took us inside. He only took us to injuries ward, where I met the concerned nursing superintendent there. I interacted with them. Then the same person, very next day, his entire house was burnt. He was beaten up. I am saying that whatever the democracy we have, we talk about human rights. A Good Samaritan trying to show us he didn't do anything. He doesn't have any bias. He doesn't belong to any political party. I am saying that this type of a advanced stage of decay which we are witnessed in West Bengal. Coming to what we saw, actually when arguments, I am saying that some counter narrative, some people are saying that it's all cooked up by one political party. We have more than 200 photographs, more than 75 videos, and then documents. Everything put it in a pen drive, we handed over to Home Minister in a sealed cover. I'm saying that anybody says that because we have nothing to, we don't represent any government agency. We are the independent citizens of our own views. We are not going to take any political stand. We only explain what is the fact there. So this is, I'm saying this is a first narrative. Secondly, some say that this is all historically has happened. Okay, history, 10 years this government is in power. Whatever happened in history, if you see that even when the left front government lost power, because some of us were observers during that time as Election Commission of India, this violence never took place there. Unprecedented violence spread to more than 14 districts across West Bengal. This is not a sudden or a spontaneous. Very night of second when the results were coming out, concluding, then the violence has started. It is a premeditated, conspiratorial, widespread. It is not spontaneous or emotional. Number one. Number two is that organized gangs, because they are on the police records. The known mafia dons, known criminals, they led and then participated in the violence. Violence is not only the killing of people, molesting women, which we cannot share the photographs or names because of sensitivity of the matter. Even the 72-year-old woman was not spared. My colleague Nirmala ji will speak more about such incidents. And then the houses were burnt. Problem is that, commercial, small, entrepreneurs running a cell phone repair shop, cycle repair shop, tailoring shop, their entire shops were burnt and destroyed. When they want to go, now they have to pay 50,000 ransom. They call it tolabaji. They have to give ransom, and then they have to give an affidavit that they will never work for the particular political party. They work for a ex-political party. Do you call it as a democracy? This is, and then I'll take some more incidents. A bridge connecting to a village was demolished through JCB, so that the village will remain outside. Entire village became untouchable because of the polling station there, the large number voted for a particular political party. And then their Aadhaar cards, ration cards are taken back. See the amount of, particularly I'm saying that one of the situations which you saw there is a particular community there. Their temples were demolished. They were beaten up. And when we went to the chief priest there, they were saying that it has happened because of some local people are there. Some of them illegal immigrants came across the border. So this is a very, very planned, systematic attempt to see that a democratic norms are destroyed in India. In that particular, it is a warning to particular followers of particular political, even suspected to be supporting a political party. So one important point is that, which I have noted, what happened to these votaries of human rights? They shout from the rooftops. They say that they're defenders of the human rights. Is the human rights of the lakhs of people who are suffered there, don't they have the human rights? Human rights is only selective, or these people, so-called votaries of human rights, so-called left liberal intellectuals, so-called opinion makers, why are they suffering from selective amnesia? They're suffering from selective amnesia. Overall picture is quite alarming. Recommendations part is concerned. What we see that some of the border districts, demographic changes that have taken place swiftly. In other areas, demographic changes will take place in 2 decades or 3 decades. Their demographic of changes take place in 7 to 10 years time. So demographic balance, as they adversely one could see there, we said that there should be empowered committee to study what type of impact of a demographic imbalance on the democratic processes in India. Number 2, we said that let there be, as early as possible, normalcy has to be brought back. Have a peace committees there. Assure the people not to, it require an impartial government anyhow, whether it will be doing or not. Even the Communist Party, CPM leader Sitaram Yechury initially gave a statement, subsequently was scared because politically incorrect. If you politically, this is tragedy is that death is seen from a political angle. And then third important point which you had mentioned, that those All India service officers, irrespective of whatever their IPS, IPS or IAS, or even the state level senior officers, dereliction of duty, a responsibility to be fixed on them. So some disciplinary action should be taken. There should be exemplary punishment to them. Number 4, National NIA, National Investigation Agency, because particularly border areas, there is a possibility of a cross-border infiltration and those involved in this widespread violence. Therefore, NIA should investigate the matter and then find out who is responsible for these atrocities, unprecedented atrocities. And one important point, I say that there should be a very liberal financial compensation package those who suffered. That because many of them have taken loans. How are they going to repay the loans? Because their now properties are going to be attached. So states should support, come out, let there be independent. We are not saying that let there be independent committee of assessors, let them assess what the property damage, compensate to the people as early as possible. And one important thing I have to mention, that our report we have shared with the NHRC. I have sent it to the Home Secretary West Bengal, Chief Secretary West Bengal. Also, I have sent it to the Chief Minister of West Bengal. We haven't got any reply. To say that only today, I just saw the report from NHRC which was submitted to the Honorable High Court of Calcutta, it says that the beginning itself, preamble, it says that what we see in West Bengal is not rule of the law, but law by the ruler. It sums up beautifully. In fact, what many points which are mentioned, I could see in the mentioned in NHRC. So these are the basic points I would like to mention. And there are many more things, because this is something which is so disturbing. Because as an officer, I've been to more than 14 times. I went as an observer to different states, as observer of Election Commission of India. I have never seen in my career this type of post-poll violence, unprecedented, unheard. This is a very, very dangerous trend. This is a threat to the very survival of democracy in India. With these words, I thank once again.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. I can understand the havoc that must have happened when you say that it is an advanced stage of decay, and what must have transpired to the commoners during the days of violence is unimaginable to any of us. Now, may I request Srimati Nirmal Kaurji to address her opening remarks.
Namaskar ji. It is a privilege for me to be invited to speak here in this forum this evening, and I am grateful for that, and I am very glad to share my observations. We went there as a committee and we observed and we spoke to the victims, we spoke to everyone, and we saw how helpless and haplessly the police and the administration watched. And in many cases, they were active accomplices also. And while these atrocities were being meted out to people, the mere fault of whose was that they did not support the winning party and they supported an opposing party. Now, this is our democracy, that you cannot win people over by your ideology. You cannot win people over by your thoughts or thought processes or by your development schemes or whatever it is that the people are looking for. You are unable to fulfill their aspirations and they do not vote for you for whatever. It's a free country. Anybody can vote for anywhere. That is the very basis of democracy. But if they have not voted for you, you start persecuting them. You penalize them. This kind of persecution in the name of democracy, what democracy if you're going to persecute people not to vote for them? Then what kind of a democracy is this? It's not democracy. Maybe it says the garb of a democracy because the so-called elections are there and the elections did take place and they came out victorious. But they got so drunk with their victory that they forgot that an opposite point of view exists. And they say democracy. What is democracy? What are the indices of a thriving democracy? What do we need for a democracy? The first thing we need is the right to vote to every citizen, to every adult. And then we need a very vigilant opposition. We need a very vigilant civil society. We need a very vigilant media. Lots of things are needed for democracy to function properly. And here we saw that the opposition is being throttled. Opposition is suffocated. Not only suffocated, finished off the scene, taken off, that no opposition is going to be tolerated to our point of view. You have to either vote for us or get out or get killed. And the kind of heinous crimes that were perpetrated to defeat people's will, to bring them onto their knees, to create this kind of fear psychosis was unthinkable. They went to people's houses, broke their property, burned their houses, razed their houses to the ground, and would disconnect their water access, would disconnect their means of livelihood, and they, men had to run away to neighboring districts, and some women were left behind. And then they would come and threaten the elderly mother. Tell him to join our party. Nahi to Rakt Ganga baha denge, Rakt Ganga. The rivers of blood will flow if you are not supporting our party. This was the kind of thing. And when, looting it, this was not enough. It was like, those armies of Nadir Shah Abdali. What did they do? They are raping women just to kind of humiliate the men and women to fall into their point of view. They raped, they raped such inhuman rapes. Young girls are being paraded naked in front of their fathers. An elderly woman is being raped, in front of her son. A woman is being raped in front of her husband, and husband is being killed. Part of the party is killing the husband, part of the party is raping the woman. These kind of inhuman things, they were perpetuated, which gives rise to think that these are not humans. They are not human beings. They do not deserve, I mean, leave alone, they don't even have basic human values of living and let live, leave alone, to enjoy such a democracy for which generations have sacrificed. We got it on a platter. That doesn't mean we don't realize the value of our democracy. We, this generation, our generation, I mean, and the next ones more so, we got our democracy on a platter. But how many generations? How many, when I go to my village, in fact, Shahid Bhagat Singh's village is very close to my village, and we have a Mela every year. And then when you hear stories from the elders, I mean, you don't even hear a fraction of it in the textbooks, because our textbooks are written in a very, very biased way, or, some selective views are included there. And, the idea is more to perpetuate some so-called, values or things, which are not, I mean, they are very, very, they do not even record a fraction of the sacrifices made by our forefathers to give us this democracy. And do not think that it, I mean, by the mere, this thing, it can be taken away. People are coming from across the borders. People are perpetrating crime. In the whole of, we went to many districts, many panchayats, many thanas. There were only 5 Indian names which people took. They were the masterminds, of course. They were supporting all kinds of gundas. And most of these gundas, the so-called lower levels, they were immigrants. They were just, criminals which were imported for this view, to conduct this, to, inflict this, or to kind of perpetrate these atrocities on people so that they get defeated. They come down on their knees and they accept their superiority. Yes, oh, your party is the only party. I'll always support you. I'll always vote you. They went to the booths, and the booths where the ruling party did not win, they put community fines. कि सब लोग इकट्ठा करके हमको इतना 5 लाख रुपया दोगे. What kind of democracy is this? This is like, the halal. Halal is, when you don't chop off the, just say, agar if you're eating mutton, you chop off, I mean, you have to be kind to the animal and you chop off, I mean, at one go, you chop off the head. But no, some people, just ever slowly kill, slowly killing, they say, I mean, it has some value in some, it has also some kind of spiritual sanction somewhere, or religious sanction. But, this kind of cruelty, halal of democracy, slowly, ever so slowly, and, through all means, if looting is not enough, arson is not enough, cut off their water and electricity supply, that is not enough, take away their means of livelihood, that is not enough, humiliate their women, that is not enough, threaten their ladies. If that is not enough, go and rape them in a way that really humiliating, very, very humiliating for the men. And they had no option but to surrender or get killed. And lots of murders did take place. Lots of people did get killed, and the rest of them were brought to knees. I don't know if you've seen footages of those, where people who voted for the opposite party, their heads were shaved off. I think it was there on national TV also, but I've seen such videos, where their heads are being shaved off. They're being paraded in the town with the other flag, flag of the winning party. No, take this flag. In queues, they are coming, their heads are being shaved off, and they're bowing in humility, in very humbly, and they're taking the flag of the winning party. And now they say, oh, now we are going to display this flag in our house, in our building. And we have officially joined your party, and we are never ever going to join. We are never ever going to support the opposite party, for supporting which they were persecuted, penalized to the extent that they were brought to their knees and made to surrender. But there are still many, many brave souls are there. In fact, I had a very high opinion of Bengalis. Coming from Punjab, we read of Rabindranath Tagore, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. I said, all these ideals came from Bengal, all our freedom struggle ideals, Anushilan Samiti, you see, everything, they came from Bengal. And reform started with Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. We read of these great souls and their thoughts, and we were brought up on a diet, and they were like our ideals. And when we actually go to Bengal, what do we see? The opposite of these ideals. The opposite, just suppressing people, ekdam zor zabardasti. If you cannot kill me with your words, or if you cannot kill me with your thoughts, you cannot impress me with your thoughts, you kill me, you put fear psychosis in me with your violence, and I am made to surrender to you and obey you. Whatever you say, whether right or wrong, I have to obey you. I have to support you. I have to support you in every which way, including support the political party which you want me to support. This is not democracy. This is not democracy at all. And we hear, this so-called Librado media, they're very shocked over small things. There's this, like recently, a very sad case of Stan Swami happened. I have not read of the case, and it's very sad that if the elderly man died, a man was 84-year-old, and they say he did not receive any medical help. But when I Googled it, I saw he died in a hospital. So I don't know what the media is talking about. I'm not condoning if anything wrong has been committed there. I do not know. I'm not condoning it at all. But what I'm saying is, if that one man is more important to these, 3/4 of our intellectuals, or maybe 90% of our intellectuals, then these lakhs and lakhs of cases. In Punjabi, Amrita Pritam is a very well-known poetess. She writes, of at partition, women were raped, women were kidnapped, women were taken away. She writes to Waris Shah. Waris Shah has written a poem on Heer. Heer was a daughter of Punjab, and she writes, that Heer, ki Waris Shah, ki today I call upon Waris Shah, ki when one daughter of Punjab died, you've written epics and epics of sad poetry. And today, lakhs and lakhs of women are being kidnapped, raped in partition, when lots of women lost there are many women, their parents, like I have heard in my own family, all the girls above 11 or 10, they lined up on the well, when my Nanaji had to leave Pakistan. And then, they were lined up on the well and they were saying this Guru Granth Sahib ka paath, Ekam Kar Satnam Karta Purukh, and girls queued up and jumped into the well. This is what was happening. This is the kind of things that happened there. And that is what Amrita Pritam says, given lakhs and lakhs of women, it is happening to girls, so many daughters, where are you? Similarly, I ask these liberados, when one person, one small thing, one thing which you perceive as human right violation, you are very active and it is all over in the media, and it is as if media has nothing to do but report that case. But when lakhs of such atrocities and violations of human rights happen, do these people not have human rights? Just because they are being perpetrated by on a particular community, or on a particular ideology, or on a particular followers of a particular party, you think they do not have political rights or human rights? Human rights cannot be selectively given only to, the so-called, a group of people. Human rights are universal. Everyone has human right. And I think it is welfare of the greater good. What is greater good? One man somewhere. Of course, mourn his death. Cry, do everything that you want to do. But at the same time, when lakhs and lakhs of atrocities are happening, why are you so silent as if nothing has happened? Nothing has happened for them. A very studied silence, silent of the, it's like as if, of the grave about the thing. Nothing they talk. So I am really very, very upset with our media, so-called, the liberal media, for not giving a balanced coverage and not giving a proportionate coverage. The importance or the coverage you give to something should be proportionate to the impact it has on your institutions. And here the biggest institution, the most important, most prized institution we have, our democracy, that is being threatened, that is being whittled away, that is taken from us, and for which we have to stand up against violence. Like when we went, sorry, I don't know whether I'm permitted to say it here, but I think we are a closed group, I can talk. Whenever I spoke to victims, everybody told me so many that this so and so many people we did not recognize, they just come and go. Jaise wo New Market mein tha, there was a murder, and then say pata hi nahi wo fruit ka thela lagata hai, he sells fruit on a thela. Then on the same thela somebody else is there, somebody has committed a murder and gone across the border, then coming back doing this and that. But 5 good names did emerge there. Five names which were universal in all the districts we went to, and everybody I talked to, they told me, many women told me, these are the people, and even the men told me that these are the people behind us. One of them was a gentleman whose wife is a sitting MLA. And then 2 or 3 of the 5 names which were often repeated. Of course, they are they are Bengalis only. They're living in Bengal and they're supporting the ruling party. 4 names were, I don't know whether I'm permitted to take names, but I think maybe I'll take the liberty. One was Shaukat Mullah. One was this Nasirul Ali Mullah, whose wife, Firdaus Begum, is an MLA there. One was Jahangir. One was Shah Jahan. And then one was a gentleman called Prabir Sarkar, so-called Librado, left, who's all for human rights of everyone who is, in the name of human rights, the kind of atrocities you are perpetrating on simple law-abiding people, that cannot be done. And the more aggressive people, the more aggressive group is being specified. But the gentle people, who want to live and let live, they are being persecuted. And this is not acceptable at all. In fact, Vivekanand ji has said the weaker people in the society need your protection. So these people who do not have a voice, these people who are very gentle, these people who have to go out daily to earn a living, otherwise they don't get to eat, their livelihoods, their life, their dignity, their women, their mothers, that should be protected. That is our, lakhs and lakhs of cases have happened. And a large section of the media in our country has spoken nothing. So what are they covering? Selective issues which are close to their heart, and all the other issues are not issues. This is not acceptable at all. I think media should be more responsible. And also we as citizens, police, we saw the police, police is telling people, jao tum samjhauta kar lo, go and sort it out with them. Where the police was very kind. This was their reply. We cannot do anything. Our hands are tied. You go make your peace with them. You somehow accept whatever terms they're giving you. And then that is the only way you can live in this society. Otherwise, you cannot live in this community. This is the kind of things the police was saying. Police and other parts of administration. Police, of course, wears the uniform, is very, very visible, is the first line of contact, the cutting edge of the administration. So we get to see it. So police ka naam hum log pehle le lete hain, but all parts of administration failed. All parts of administration failed, and where so many heinous things were happening, nobody even visited the place of occurrence. Normally, when such big things would happen, the CM would go, or the chief secretary would go, or the home secretary would go, or at least the district collector would go. Not even Thana Prabhari, not even SHO, station house officer, not even officer in charge, not even an ASI of the police station, not even the beat constable visited those places and gave them any support or courage or any feeling of security. So, you take away a feeling of security from a man and nothing remains. Because I cannot go out and earn my living if I'm not sure that when I come back, my house is going to be there. When I come back, my mother is going to be there. When I come back, my wife, my children are going to be there. And dignity of my household, for which I work so hard to feed these people, that is going to be intact when I come back. That is not happening. So there's a very, very autocratic and despotic manner in the government has acted. And, very, very sad. And I think I want to emphasize yet again, though a couple of both my, senior colleagues have spoken about it, that the demography is changing. Lots of it is from across the border. And we have to be very, 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 careful. Because one man, one vote, one adult gets one vote. But how do we use that vote? That is what is going to decide democracy. If our vote is so sasta that we will vote for something, except, the future of our country, then our vote is of no value. We have wasted our vote. We have used that vote to harm our country. And voting en bloc, en bloc votes of certain sections, that is what makes the elections. That is what makes you win the elections, not the individuals, not the followers of your ideology. It's en bloc, some order is passed somewhere or some decision is taken by some higher up, the entire community follows. In fact, in Punjab, when I was growing up, we have this system, our neighbors said, we were studying democracy in school and all, and our neighbor said there were elections. So then our neighbor, Bhabiji said, the lady of the house, the daughter of the house said, where to vote? I said, where are you going to vote? So in Punjabi, she said, Jithe Daddy ji kenge, wherever Daddy ji says, vote, we'll vote. So then I had a big fight with that, my neighbors, my relatives only, my uncle, that this is not, you all have to have your own views and studied views. And you cannot just say, just because Daddy ji is saying you're going to vote for a particular party. So we have to use our votes very judiciously. And not only that, we have to be allowed to vote in a very fear-free manner where we want to vote. We don't have to have any fear, either emotional or mental or physical, that we will be penalized or persecuted if we vote for a particular party. So this is the very basic human right. This right to vote, all your human rights, all your everything else flows from this right. Because if you cannot choose your government, I think Mahabharata also has a shloka that a man should first choose his king and then choose his wife and his vocation and other things. Because what uses a wife, what uses a vocation, what uses anything if you do not have a feeling of security? A feeling of security is a must for a citizen to survive. I have a lot more to say, but I think we are on time. Some kind of time deadline is there. So, but I'll be happy to take any questions. I have a lot more information on things. So I welcome if any questions could be, on any issue. I've been there and I've met quite a few people, and I can give you lots of first-hand information. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. That was extremely eye-opening, I must say. There are two things that I will definitely take home. One is the basic right to choose that has not been guaranteed in West Bengal. And second goes with respect to the selective mutism that you have very rightly pointed out before our August audience. Ma'am, I understand that we are running out of time, but we also, with all the, with the permission from all the three of you, we have a lot of questions that are coming up on the chat window as well as on YouTube. So I would only request the three of you to give us a little more time so that we could quell our questions with your answers. We have with us Dr. Krishnamurthy ji.
I'm more than happy to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. We have with us Dr. Krishnamurthy ji, retired DGP, who has raised a very valid question. He asks, how do we prevent the law of the rulers and establish the rule of law? What action can be contemplated against Didi? May I request, ma'am, you to answer this question?
See, we have I think a few things have gone very wrong. One is, as a concerned citizen, I have been a bureaucrat, I've been a faceless bureaucrat. I've never been able to express my ideas. But, now that I've retired, I can freely say that we have heard a lot. We have to zero-base things. We haven't been able to zero-base things. If you see our constitution, we have based it on 1935 Government of India Act. I think 90% of our constitution comes from there for all the deliberations of constituent assemblies we have. And then whenever we have not zero-based our budgets, even in our administration, we see, last time, okay, we are getting a 20% increase. So between 15 to 20, all heads will increase. No, you have to zero-base things. And when I was in Ranchi district, senior SP here, we do this parade, when we give promotion to Sipahis from Havaldars. And I saw an appointment letter given in 1965 to a constable, which had those, lions, the insignia of the empire. 1965, we were using that letterhead in the district of Ranchi when we got free in 1947. So things remain the same. We did not zero-base our things. So I think we have inherited this civil service. Civil service is supposed to carry out the policies of the government, because leaders will only give out policies. The elected government cannot perform without the help of the civil services in various departments. So civil servants have to be committed to their policies, to carry out their policies, to implement their policies. But what we have started doing is, we are implementing their politics. We are not here to implement their politics. No, sorry. Their politics is their politics. I'm a civil servant, whether I belong to Jharkhand cadre or West Bengal or Karnataka or anywhere. My oath is to the Constitution of India, not to a particular party in power. Now, what is happening is these implementers, the civil servants, they have started implementing the politics of the governments. And politics, is a stage thing. Politics has no honor. Maybe, I think good old days never were, but we hear of great politicians, we hear of honorable men in politics, but no more. Now, what is happening is, politics is just, it's like a free-for-all thing. It's just, winning, might is best, might is right kind of a thing. So now the role of civil servants is very, very, it is to be honored, and it is much more important than ever for them to honor the values enshrined in the Constitution. So civil servants have to be taught that, okay, you've taken an oath, we all take an oath, by the Constitution of India, not by any political party. So we should never implement the politics of the government, only their policies. That is my job as a civil servant. And the entire cadres, IS of course is the highest, and they have to inculcate this down into all services, right up to the block level person or an Anganwadi worker. We are here for the Constitution of India, not here to implement the politics of the government. So I think that has been a very, very big thing. And also, as civil servants, we have failed, of course. We've become politicized, we have affiliations, and for our small, though, I think this kind of guarantee, Article 311 in the Constitution, nowhere in the world civil servants are so protected. Nobody can do anything to you. Nobody can do anything to you. You can follow the Constitution of India, abide by the laws, and if you follow it properly, I mean, such protection of employment nowhere in the history of the world, even in the present world, it is not given to everyone. I mean, it is such a protective section for the civil services, and still we fail to deliver. I just start identifying and we look for small time favors. We want to be a civil servant and live like a capitalist. That is, no. I mean, if you come to civil services, come with this thing, okay, I'll be a middle class person. I will be I'm here more to serve the country as per the policies than to actually, for my aggrandizement or to have a list of properties, to have a list of whatever we may have. No, that is not going to go with you. But what you leave, do for the country, what you do for the community is going to make the community a better place. And if you cannot make it a better place, at least do not leave it a worse place. When you leave the service or when you die, I mean, society is sustained. Individual is not sustained. And I also have my grievance against all other estates, not only civil services. This is the third, second estate, third, first, second, third. There's a general deterioration. And I think media has to now really buck up, because media and civil society, if they act well, everybody else will be compelled to fall in line. I think this is really a very, very need of the hour kind of a thing, and we can take it from there. Thank you.
Yes. I understand, ma'am. You've said that media is there for to establish the rule of law again. Absolutely. Now, my question to Dr. Bose. Sir, could I? Sir, in the report, I can see that it has been mentioned that it is a premeditated effort that has taken place. What were the grounds on which you came to the conclusion that it is a premeditated effort, premeditated violence? Dr. Bose?
See, there was a chain of incidents which could have been implemented only if there is a mastermind behind it. As I say, there is a method in the madness. This method in the madness came out of certain criminal brains which were trying to plot against the people who voted against a political party. See, in any kind of violence of this nature, if it is not spontaneous, there are 4 stages for this. One is intelligence, preparation for action, and mopping up. Intelligence means these political people found out who are the ones who campaigned against the ruling party. Who are the leaders, local leaders, who could influence or galvanize the votes against them? Who are the opinion makers who stood against the ruling party? That is the intelligence space where they gather information about each and every individual. Now, the preparation for action. A bomb is not made in just a day. All preparations were made. Men and materials were all collected, dispersed, deployed, and kept fighting ready. And with one go, on your mark, get set and go, the rowdies came on the rampage in the field. This is a preparation for action and action. Action is what Mrs. Nirmal Kaur has narrated here. You name any criminal act, rape, arson, looting, intimidation, bombing, you name anything, it is all there. So it's one balance of considerations and evidence that is available. We have come to the considered opinion that these violence were all planned and premeditated. And anybody who goes there will see, as Madanji said, even a good Samaritan, as he is rightly described, he, just for the sin of coming with us and showing us those victims and praise who were admitted to hospital for that crime, his house was attacked. He was attacked. If this is not the result of a premeditated, pre-planned violence, what else is it? We can certainly distinguish between what is spontaneous and what is not. There is a mastermind behind it, and the mastermind has been able to implement it with a clockwork precision. Their aim was to intimidate, to create the fear psychosis. They succeeded in that. And now coming to government. Government was also mute witness to all these things. The politicians may do what they want. I really appreciate what Nirmalji has said. We have to implement the policies, not the politics. But we find the state machinery came to a standstill. Why? If one individual, two individuals, two officers are irresponsible, we can understand. How can the entire system, even the All India services, came to a standstill? These are all acts of premeditated violence, aided and abetted by the government. That is my considered opinion on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Sir, there have been several questions which have been about what is the central government doing? Can the central government, or could not the central government have taken a stand? Why is the Home Ministry silent? So I request all the three of you to give opinion on this for a minute each, please.
I'll take a minute or two on that.
Please, sir.
Point
please.
number one is that you are saying what central government has done. I say that very 2nd May, when the incident started happening, when the media reported, on 4th May, Honorable Prime Minister spoke to the governor of the state. And then the governor spoke to the chief minister there. He called her and spoke to her. He also convened a meeting of the chief secretary, home secretary, and other responsible officers. And he visited the field. He was prevented, that's a different thing. Second, National Human Rights Commission addressed the letter to the chief secretary. They have denied the permission. And the National Women's Commission for Women, they denied the permission. National Commission for the Protection of the Rights of the Children, they were denied. As a civil society group, we were denied. I'm saying that this is a situation requires some sort of a thinking at the national level, because now some of the victims, relatives of the rape victims, were approached the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has admitted the case. 2 sitting judges recused themselves. That means something wrong. Why the judges have residence in West Bengal? Even the judges are afraid to take up this case. And the another important point I have to notice that now the Honorable High Court of Calcutta, they have directed the NHRC to go to the field. A team of NHRC was attacked. I am saying that this is something unusual that happens in democratic India. Unusual. And whatever a solution is, as a members of a citizens civic society, we went there, civil society, we went, we prepared a report. In fact, we were denied entry. And then, in fact, the person we took up with the Home Ministry, and luckily we got some security. Even the in-charge, IG of that in-charge Central Security Forces, he told us that I can give you 20% or 25%, but 200% attack you, I will not be responsible. I am saying that this type of a lawlessness prevailing there. Yes, I am saying that partly why the Home Ministry sent the team there, a team of the Home Ministry, 3-member team visited the state within 3 days. You may say, what happened? I am saying that this is something unprecedented, because you are a constitutional breakdown of the state government, which is supposed to protect the people. What alternatives should be? I think this should give us a serious thinking as far as the center-state relations are concerned. They have to be redefined now, because the unprecedented situation requires unprecedented solutions. Number one. Number two is that all India services, because we all, essential, what we are taught in the academy in Masuri is that essential feature of democracy is not to obey any master but the law. This is the statement which are repeatedly told. We took oath of allegiance on the Constitution of India, not a manifesto of any political party. Here, all India services, their helplessness is that, this we mentioned in the report, every state government has to send 25% of their cadre strength, whether it is IAS, IPS or IFS, on central deputation. And it's like West Bengal is the lowest in entire India. I have my own, some of my colleagues I can mention, informally when we spoke to them, they were begging the chief minister to send them to central deputation. That was refused. And then we all know about the famous judgment, TSR Subramaniam judgment, where Supreme Court said that there should be a minimum assured tenure. Minimum assured tenure, MAT, minimum assured tenure. They've been very, very detailed order which is passed by the Supreme Court. Based on the 2014 or 15, Government of India directed all the states to constitute a Central Civil Services Board, and make it as a minimum assured tenure to all India service officers. That is broken there, it's not followed up. I'm saying that some of the reforms, and particularly all India services, whatever protection to be given to them in the whether their deputation to central government to be made compulsory. Now it is not compulsory, it's a voluntary. Can that be made as a compulsory? It requires whatever changes in all India service rules. Similarly, the center-state relations. And third important thing is that, which we mentioned, we wrote, we discussed, it was widely publicized. We also met Home Minister, gave our report personally. With all that now, that this has to be cumulative. That all these responses come from the civil society, NHRC, National SCST Commission, because SCSTs are worst affected. Matwa community is a scheduled caste there. Matwa Mahasangh, one of their priest we met. I am saying that atrocities on SCSTs, atrocities on women, atrocities on children, the entire thing is now it has culminated to a particular stage now. Now High Court of Calcutta only on 2 days back, NHRC submitted the report. Now the report is in a public domain. We have to wait because the judiciary is approached for us, because unfortunately we are living in a politically charged atmosphere. Any decision taken by the government of India, yes, it is viewed with a particular way. So maybe, I don't know, Government of India, Home Ministry should have acted, what type of action what type of constitutional alternatives are there. All these things, I hope they were examining that, they would have done it. Yes, I'm saying that actually many of the victims, they were asking us, क्या हुआ है, we are helpless, आप आए हैं, जा रहे हैं, report दे रहे हैं, क्या होगा, we are being butchered, we are being murdered. We also, I honestly say, we don't have answers. Because something these have never happened in India. So I think this, I put it in a perspective from my point of view.
Thank you, sir. I think the most important aspect that you have touched on is one, that it is absolutely unprecedented, and two, that it is the center-state relations have to be redefined. Unprecedented experiences and unprecedented incidents require unprecedented measures. Dr. Bose, could you please add on to what kind of unprecedented measure that the center could have taken, maybe in about 30 seconds? We have many more questions coming.
I would, is it clear?
Yes, we can hear you, sir, absolutely.
Yeah, I would take on from what Madanji said. Unusual situations require unusual approaches. Alvin Toffler speaks about advocacy, which means the same. An unusual problem needs unusual solution. Unusual situation requires unusual approaches. Now, where does the shoe pinch? Where is the chink in the armor? The center-state relations of India. As we know, there are certain legal, constitutional, and policy restrictions which are placed on the central government. The central government can act only within the constitution, only weak provisions in the constitution which empowers the central government to enter into the daily functioning of a state. Even in a critical hour like this, yes, personally, I feel Bengal was ripe for president's rule. But is it easy to implement it? The constitutional, legal, and political proprietors are to be observed. We have the instances of the Supreme Court interfering and putting back governments which were placed under the president's rule. Now, the discretion of the governor is not to be questioned, but on one ground or the other, it is questioned. Therefore, the central government has no overarching legislation which will support it to enter into the day-to-day administration of a state, even if the law and order machinery has broken down. Therefore, there is a need for relook and revisiting the center-state relations, and also creating strong policies and legal framework which will empower the central government to step in immediately, decisively, effectively, strongly when there is a crisis like this. But we saw that the central government, as of now, is not empowered for this quick action. This is something which has to be rectified, and the central government should be able to intervene whenever there's a lockdown or a breakdown of law and order like this. As they say, now it's a situation where the apocalyptic vision, things fall apart, the center cannot hold. That should never continue. Therefore, we should have a soul searching and create strong institutions and legal framework which will empower the central government to step in where the machinery fails in the state government. That is the lesson we have learned from this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Those were actually very, very enlightening. Overarching mechanism to take over the day-to-day activities of state by the center is presently not within the legal policy paradigm that is in existence. Therefore, the central government could not have gone beyond the legal policy, the ambits, the jurisdiction that it is that it is bound by. Is an extremely convincing answer, I must say. Sir, I have this question. Since you have served as a Chief Secretary in Kerala also, as a Chief Secretary to the Chief Minister of Kerala, as a Secretary to the Chief Minister of Kerala, do you think, sir, that we see that Kerala also sees a lot of political violence? West Bengal has been in communist rule for a very, very long time. So do you feel that persistent communist government rule over a particular area changes the mentality of the society? Does it make the society public more violent than others?
Now, the very basis for communism is expropriate the expropriators. But who is the expropriator? The leaders decide. Therefore, there is a kind of anarchy which is supported in all communist government. Because the ultimate objective of the communism itself is the state should wither away. So when you are within the government, the prominent communist leader from Kerala, the first elected chief minister, communist chief minister of the world, Sri EMS Namboothiri Party is on record that we are coming through democratic elections because we want to break it from within. The break-in from within being the ambit of all your exercise, your paradigm, the core of your paradigm. You can't expect anything better than this. And there is also, they say that dictatorship of the proletariat, any dictatorship is bad. Dictatorship of the proletariat finally becomes dictatorship of the lumpen proletariat. That is what we see in this country. In a district like Kannur, which has also made a subject of study by a fact-finding team, by the same organization called for justice, they found that intimidation, murder, there is politics of intimidation, politics of murder, politics of fear psychosis, which is rampant there. Even now, the tally is going up. There is seems to be no end to this. Where violence is there, he who takes the sword shall perish with the sword. That is what the Bible says. In communist countries, how did Hungary? What happened there? Communism fell. In other countries, communism fell. Communism fell because of its advocacy of violence. The violence finally turns on itself. That is why in the whole world, there is only one pocket where there's a communist government. That is the Kerala government. A government, a doctrine, which is based on advocacy or terror and violence, can only do like this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. My next question is, ma'am, for you. Ma'am, the report recognizes that West Bengal has a very porous international borders. Now, do you think that this porous international border is responsible for this kind of a violence? I mean, is it motivated by the neighbors? Ma'am? Srimati Nirmal Kaur, ma'am?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely, please.
Okay. I said, yes, the porous border is a big problem because people are coming and going as they please. And the kind of migration that is there, most of these crime has been committed by the migrant people, the migrants from across the border. And also the kind of psyche, the kind of, community thinking that has changed because of their coming. Now they are occupying large chunks of land. Anywhere there is Gair Majura land, anywhere there is railway land, anywhere, like you see in Midnapur, which is a district next to Jharkhand, we saw, next to the railway station, there was this railway land, and the government very promptly allowed them to and gave them a grant to build a madrasa. Now, we don't know who's coming in the madrasa, right from the train they get off, I mean, we've had problems there in, tracing terrorists to those places. And then you don't know kya ho raha hai, kya nahi. It's the railway land. But, they have encroached upon other land, be it a riverbed. Riverbeds have been encroached upon by thousands and lakhs of people. And, crime is because they are short-term people, and, they are not bothered. They are people who come from very, they are not bothered with day-to-day living. They are more bothered by acquiring more and more here, or acquiring like a proper Bengali who's been there for 3 generations, may or may not have an Aadhaar card, may or may not have a ration card. But these people, even before they arrive, have all these identity documents. And, this is the kind of things which is happening. And when, BSF or the MHA or any department, the foreign, they catch them and they send them back to their country, Bangladesh. They say, oh, ye to LTC hai. We'll promptly come back, because they're being sent back at the government expense. When they are transported back, it is at government expense. The few that are caught, and then they say, oh, we are going home on LTC, because they are promptly back. So these porous borders are so porous that, I mean, there's no, you can be here, commit a murder here, go back after 1 week, 1 month or so, when things cool down, when your accomplices tell you it's okay to come back, you come back, and you again start doing some petty business on the roadside. That is the kind of thing which is happening there. I think we have to all, whoever's manning the borders, the paramilitary forces, or anybody, the army or whoever's there, SSB or BSF or CISF or CRPF or the army or whichever organization manning the border, they have to see that we are changing. We are not only, it's not the question of now refugees, allowing Rohingyas, allowing Wahhabis, allowing, these Bangladeshi immigrants. What do they mean? I mean, their own, lots of countries do not want them, and they are rejected everywhere. Now see, look at France. France, what did they do? They encouraged in the name of, they say, we are the land of liberty, equality, and fraternity. And they allowed many, many people to come and settle over there. What happened? Hebdo was decapitated. Recently, there were such huge incidents. And now, now they are realizing their folly. So in India, we have this thing, and we should not, in the name of Vasudev Kutumbakam, but Vasudev Kutumbakam is fine. But my country comes first. World is a globe. I mean, it's a global village, no doubt. But first, I have to look out the interest of my own country. If the peace of my own country, if the feeling of security in my own country goes, it is not my culture, not my heritage anymore. If such violence is there in everybody's day-to-day conduct, or even in the conduct of elections, when somebody wins and you get so violent that you have to finish them, decimate them, and at all odds, at all costs, bring them to their knees, even if it means humiliating them in the worst possible way, or, economically, socially, emotionally, in every which way, if you do that. So porous borders are a big issue, and I hope the government addresses it quickly, because, this kind of migration cannot be allowed. The Rohingyas are coming in the name of, and the kind of grants you are giving to the minority. Okay, let the grants, I mean, we say we are secular. What brand of secularism is this? Secularism simply means government will not enter into the religious affairs. But when we give grants for building religious institutions or grants for religious workers out of the government fund, out of the government money, that means we are not secular at all. So this brand of secularism is perhaps just pampering to the few because they are a vote block, they are seen as a vote block. It is not helping anyone. Most importantly, it's not even helping the people you are so-called pampering, because they don't want to come up in the proper hardworking way. They want to come up by, these shortcuts, and shortcuts do not, kaat ki handi bar nahi chadti. Shortcut may work in short term, but for the long term, it's really your hard work and generations of hard work which give you this kind of institutions. Our institutions are very important, and the most important institution we have is the institution of democracy, which should be protected at all costs. And if your demography changes like this, where is your democracy? Demographic changes because everyone gets one vote. They have a voting card even before they come to India. Your grandmother may not have a voting card because of some error was found somewhere. But then they have a voting card. And they have a voting card, they are entitled to vote. And because they are entitled to vote, the politicians are even more than eager to bring them. Oh, so many thousands coming, or so many lakhs coming, so many votes for me. This is very short-term thinking. This is very, very short-term thinking, and you are finishing whatever you stand for. And whatever you are doing today, they say, whatever energy you leave in the universe, whatever energy you're leaving in the universe eventually comes back to you. It will come to visit your children. It will come to, and not very far away in the future, maybe 15, 20 years from today, you'll see an entirely different setup. In Giridih, like recently there was an incident here in Jharkhand. There's a district called Giridih. And there's this block, where the Yadavs, there's a community here called Yadavs, made some agreement to buy some land. And they are being threatened by the local goons, belonging to a particular community, that only this community will buy land here. You will not buy land here. This is what we say, what democracy and what mainstream media. I haven't seen a single Librado media covering such incidents. They are attacking your very foundations of your democracy. So address that. And most of the people, this is like, you are andar hi andar ghul lag jayega aapki democracy ko. You're sabotaging it from within. You're sabotaging your democracy by allowing such mass scale immigration, and not only immigration through these porous borders, also giving them all kinds of identity papers, giving them voting rights because it suits you. You will go in 20 years, 30 years, whenever, and you leave a mess of this country. You leave a mess of all the values our ancestors have sacrificed for. You leave such problems for your children, for the next generation. So I think these porous borders have to be, they're a real issue and very real-time issue, very present issue. And what is being played out in the theaters there, you have to see the theater of, Bengal and, what is happening there to be able to appreciate what I'm trying to say. Porous border is a major, major problem and has to be very quickly addressed.
Porous borders need to be addressed very, very quickly. Yes. So, Madan sir, there has been a very specific question asked by Dr. Anand Kumar Mysore on the chat to you, which says that there is a propaganda amongst the Dalit colonies, amongst the people in the Dalit colonies, that the entire incident that has happened in West Bengal is absolutely false and is a false propaganda by the right wingers. So could you please, he requests you if you more detailed opinion about how the entire investigation took place.
No, actually, there is some communities in West Bengal, like Mathwa community. Mathwas are scheduled caste there. Similarly, there are many scheduled caste communities there. I am saying that the way we interacted with them, spoke to them, some of them are in temporary shelters. So the issue, somebody says that is a propaganda, I request them to go and visit there, contact them. Because why I am saying that this entire targeted violence had a purpose, particularly against women, against scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Because this time, large number of women, the particular political party who lost elections, their entire base came from the women. Women being a chief minister, she could not protect the women, irrespective of the political, whatever the affiliations. And scheduled caste, already because we met a particular areas, they were saying that what we saw in the DJ Halli and KG Halli, land jihad we have mentioned. There the similar incidents are taking place, many of the border areas. They come here, they take away lands which are under the possession of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities. They dispossess them forcefully, occupy that, and the person who occupied will get a patta from the state government. I am saying that gradually that land ownership pattern is changing in those areas, and that what we called as a land jihad, whereas land jihad is taking place in those areas. Saying that not necessary, what Nirmal Madam said, not only the outsiders, because they mingled with the locals, it became a criminalization, lumpenization has become so, because one point I have to, very interesting thing is that country-made pistols, crude bombs, they can't be made in a one day. How did they use country-made pistols and the crude bombs on second night itself? That means there is a cache, they prepared for that. So anybody says that, because please read the report, we never said supported any political party. We have not mentioned that this is X party, Y party, because we took a very, very impartial stand there. In the beginning I mentioned, when our efforts to reach the state government, to reach the chief secretary, home secretary could succeed, because we wanted to take their output, whatever input they gave, we wanted to write that as it is, without changing a comma and full stop. So this whole process is that has to be seen in a larger picture. because in those areas, I should, if you want to give me one more minute, socio-economic analysis, if you do that, social analysis that the most weakest there with a less land, with those who depend on the state structures are the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe people. I'm talking more scheduled caste people. They have to avail the facilities from the state government, and this entire thing, socio-economic assessment, if analysis, if you do that, the migrants, if they come, they want to eat from the same piece of cake. The cake is very limited. In that, the migrants want to participate in that. Because of this thing, the rivalry between the scheduled caste and the migrants is a more pronounced than the rivalry between between migrants and other communities. This is how we have to see that how the scheduled caste people are targeted there, Matwa community, because they are all a particular, they evolved from the period of Lord Chaitanya. Many of them they have come from a different communities, they have embraced Hinduism, they are from the lower strata of society, they are the weakest among the weak. Because they are weakest among the weak, they are prone to the violence from the migrants or whatever, illegal migrants or those who are coming from outside. This is how issue has to be seen. Anybody says propaganda, please, I give the telephone number of the main priest of the Matwa temple there. We have nothing to do with that, because what we gain, because anybody can go and check that and see.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Sir, I have a question with respect to the kind of violence that took place. We know that it is political. Did any of you see any kind of a class, caste, community, solidarity, or was it purely political? I mean, do we have any other social structures playing a role there, or was it only the political structure that was playing a role?
Actually, it's not just a political structure. Political structure is in the forefront, but social, cultural, economic, these three aspects have played a predominant role from the background. Social and then economic and the cultural. I'm saying that this is the thing where a communal issues came, because obviously in the particular vote bank of a particular party, I belong to a particular religion, a particular group of migrants who came across the border. So it became that type of a situation there, and that is a terrible situation that has happened. Mr. Shivaram asking me telephone number, I'll send it to you, the number of the Matwa community chairman.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That was really, the fact that there are other structures that are playing a role speaks volumes about the kind of political layering that has happened in West Bengal, for that matter. May I now request Dr. Bose to give his closing remarks?
We are extremely thankful to the organizers of this meeting for giving us an opportunity for this enlightened discussion on an important topic. We feel that the labor which we did in making the fact-finding a success has been accepted, well received by the people who participated in this. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. We have written something for the sake of the common man who has not gone there. We have find the responses which came from this shows the insightful attitude of those who participated in this. They see India as one. They take pride in what the nation does, not whatever it does. There is a difference between what the nation does and whatever it does. We want democracy to survive, not democracy or the way it is practiced in Bengal. So many issues have come out from this report: center-state relations, Indian federalism, the need for having a relook at the constitution and legal framework of this country, making the central government more powerful in hours of crisis, and also revamping and restructuring the All India services. A lot of issues have come together: political, social, economic, cultural, and also interstate border issues have also come here. What are all the systems to be revamped? What are the new systems to be implemented? Where We have to make corrective, mid-course correction is required. Quite a lot of comments have come by way of questions. Very, very searching questions. For us, the best compliment which you have received is that we have been questioned very incisively. And that is something which gives a compliment to us, that made us think and also react in a way which should appeal to the intellectual curiosity of those questioners. I haven't seen all the questioners because they did not ask the questions where they were not visible. But I would say excellent questions, and almost in a Socratic way, Socrates never answers anything. He asks questions, catechism. I think we have been subjected to a catechism by those participants who are very intelligent, very searching questions. And, those are the questions which, if we had the benefit of it beforehand in writing the report, perhaps, Madanji, our report also would have been a little different, because we missed these questions in front of us. We are very, very thankful to all the participants here. We are enlightened, we are encouraged, we are inspired, and we look forward to similar, more enlightened discussions in future. Thank you. And Shama, you're an excellent compeer, excellent anchor. You could sum up everything, catch everything, the gist of everything, and present it in a way which is very appealing. Thank you so much. All the best for everybody, and thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Ma'am, can I please request you to give your closing remarks, please?
Yes, I had something to say, but I think I've lost thread. You were asking about a particular thing about, I think, the central government or the institutions, why the central government has not acted in a way. See, I think central government has, there are so many other institutions. Central government is one thing, but NHRC has given its report. NCW has given its report. There are so many institutions we have, like NCPCR has interjected, or at least, observed and given their report. Lots of institutions are there. And civil society, like we went as representative of civil society. But I think a lot more community participation is required. Now, this is like abdicating. If you think, oh, this is for the government to do, this is that. So in many, very many ways, as a community, as a society, as a thing, we are abdicating. We are abdicating it to some amorphous authority or to some people. See, institutions are as good as the people who man them. Institutions are not, they don't work in vacuum. We have to strengthen our institutions. We have to have good traditions. But at the same time, those who come to man the institutions, what is an institution? It is just the lengthened shadow of one man. And so you have to strengthen your institutions, all institutions, whether they be media, they be civil society, they be community participation, they be social organizations. It's not only a political, everything is not political. This is one, politics is, celebration of, they say elections are celebrations of democracy. That celebration comes once in 5 years, but life goes on every day. So every part of community, every aspect of community living, every aspect of society has to become more active, has to be more aware, and has to be more sensitive, that if they keep quiet at this hour, keeping quiet, it's not that if you're not actively supporting, you're not a violator. If you're keeping quiet also, you're violating. You're violating. So keeping quiet also is bad at this time. And everybody should come out and demur. Everybody should come out and do whatever is in their past in this situation, and not abdicate it merely to the government. Government is there. Government will do its role. I'm not saying government has to be. Government is there for governing. But at the same time, we also as a citizen, we have to be aware. We have to hold on to rights. And we are our own watchdog. Whatever is there for us, we have to guard it like precious gift, and have very, very strong institutions, and abdicate it merely somebody or someone somewhere to any organization. That is, I think, as a citizen, being more aware and also being more active, more proactive to guard the institutions that is needed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Dr. Madan Gopal sir, could you please give your closing remarks?
Just take a minute, because this is I could see a pattern in India that emerging. This is I consider is the very diabolical design of anti-national forces gathering momentum in different parts of the country. This, I think, what happened in Bengal is a threat to the very existence of democracy in India. Because now elections are coming in five states soon, then we'll have a general elections in 2024. This seems to be given a signal. It has a lot of dimensions that, if you are supporting particular political party, yes, be careful, think twice. This message, we should collectively think over why this has happened. We should not allow, we should not be bulldozed or bamboozled by the whatever vested interest, because it is my right to vote to whichever ideology I belong to. So this is the takeaway which we want to convey to all.
Thank you, sir. I must say it is more about 12 minutes past 1.5 hours, but each minute has been extremely insightful, heart-wrenching, and something that has made us question about our own beliefs, saying, how can we let this happen? And what should we, being outside Bengal, do in order to prevent anything of this sort from recurring again in any part of India, including Bengal? So, with all of these questions and a lot of answers that we have received from everybody, I thank our esteemed guests, Dr. Bose, Srimati Nirmal Kaur ma'am, and Shri Madan Gopal sir, for spending your extremely valuable time with us in order to clarify all our doubts. I sincerely thank you on behalf of Call for Justice and Citizens for Democracy for spending your time with us, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I must thank the esteemed audience that that have spent this time with us on Zoom and on other media platforms like YouTube, who have been with us live and have questioned us. What more compliment can I give to you than that you have received from Dr. Bose himself when he says it's cataclysm? Nothing beyond that. When he says that you question like Socrates, what more? So I only seek and rather request the audience to pat themselves on their back for the amazing questions and amazing participation that you have gathered to this event. I must thank Citizens for Democracy and Call for Justice for taking up the aspect when there was an entire India silent. Call for Justice and Citizens for Democracy stood up for the human rights for which we stand and we shall abide by. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.